Hey, what's up guys? Little man with a big opinion here. Today's video got a couple of news articles to talk about. The sun is coming up and it is very awful, so you're going to get a little bit of glare on my face. I do my best to stay as unpolitical as I possibly can. But the first thing we're going to talk about is kind of related to the pandemic, and that is Fauci saying, based off the numbers and what's going on, it's too early to determine plans for Christmas. Tie that in with reports of the Mint wanting to make a coin out of platinum, and then the supply chain issues that are going on, and it's something to think about going into the winter months. All of the articles where I'm pulling this information from, I'll put in the description down below. The first one, it was talking about a farmer in the UK. It's looking bad over there, and similarly, what they're going through, we're going through here in the US. I forget the guy's name, but in 2014 or 2015, he was, Farmer of the Year in the UK. He's got one of the largest pig farms outside of London at like 7,500 pigs, and he's talking about maybe having to cull down some of his livestock. And the reasoning behind that is, it's set, I think it's like threefold. The first thing is there's not enough people at a meat processing plant to process his meat. There's not enough workers to stock shelves of this meat. There's not enough truck drivers to deliver the pigs to the slaughterhouse, and there's not enough butchers to, butcher the pigs and prepare them for, processing. I didn't know this about certain livestock, but once they get over a certain poundage, they're too heavy to be processed in, these massive, meat places. And so the same issues are happening here in the United States. I was watching a couple of podcasts, and they're saying farmers are still having to throw out milk, potatoes, onions, different, vegetables, because, at the other end of the supply chain, there's not enough demand for their products. And what that's going to do is, if farmers produce, 10 of this, but only 8 of it is needed on the other end, then they are the ones that have to deal with, the 2 extra left over, which normally means, wasting it, throwing it out. And when we get back to a point where we need 10 of it, then the farmer has to put in the extra work to get back to the 10 of it. I don't know the exact numbers for how much beef we need for this area, how much corn we need for this area. It was a really big issue with restaurants closing, and that massive pushback of goods that weren't required anymore. It's just going to create another hiccup in the system. We're getting pretty close to Thanksgiving and Christmas time. People tend to spend more. They tend to gather and celebrate, so they require more food products. And that's just including what's here in the United States. The last numbers that I looked up on the number of cargo ships off of the coast of California, it was in the 50s. For any frame of reference, the unloading process of those ships is backed up anywhere from 3 months to 6 months, just based off of how quickly these things can be unloaded and sent back to where they came from. For a previous reference, the number of cargo ships that have had to sit off of the California coast at any given time was 0 to 1, and its wait time was in the hours and maybe a day. And now the wait time is in weeks and months for some of these ships. I was watching someone's video. They were talking about there's an app you can get. I just look it up online. But on this app, the free version, you can see the number of ships and the tonnage of the ships. And in the paid version, you can see the supplies that are inside of the ships. I don't care to pay for it. I just know when you go from a process of only having 0 to 1 ships waiting a few hours to now you have 40 and 50 ships waiting weeks and months, supplies are being, the supply chain is being disrupted. I joined a couple of prepping Facebook groups, and the thing going around on those groups right now is about once a week they let people upload videos around their areas of empty shelves. And when I first joined this group back in, I think, June, there's only a couple of people that were posting empty shelves, and now it's jumped into the dozens. So moving into the winter months, more people tend to be at home for longer amounts of time. They tend to gather for these celebrations, and the demand for products is going to go up. Another report that was coming out was saying that they believe anywhere from 10 to 40% reduction in sales this Black Friday, just based off of the inflation. They're hoping it only goes up to 4.4% by the end of the year. We're sitting at 4.2%. The previous high is about 5.4%. And, they're hoping 2022, the inflation is only 2.2%. So, based off of those numbers, the inflation is here to stay for a while. If we want to keep it around the 2% mark, I think 2.2% is somewhat acceptable. But to make up for this year, it's got to be under that 2% mark. And more people are quitting their jobs or switching to something else. The last numbers I saw on that was 56% of people currently working either don't enjoy their job and they plan on moving to do something else, or they plan on just not working and sucking from the government's teat. As a prepper, what does all this mean? If the federal government wants to make a platinum coin, I've heard anywhere from its face value being a few $100s to one person was suggesting making it $1 trillion coin. We're having issues with Congress wanting to raise the debt ceiling and trying to pass different budgets and spending bills. The Federal Reserve is just, I don't think the printing press has been turned off for the last 2 or 3 years. And it means your $100 is buying you less and less goods. tie that in with less and less goods being on the shelf for you to even purchase. And if you haven't been, into prepping, you're just now getting into prepping. Not only is your dollar getting you less and less goods to consume on a day-to-day basis, it's affording you less and less goods to put away for that SHTF situation. So, I'll continue to say you should stack to the rafters. It's kind of late in the year to start, thinking about planting a garden. I got 2 fruit trees put in at late spring. I'm hoping they survive the winter. I should have planted them early spring, basically as soon as it stopped, freezing. But hopefully they'll survive. I'll try to take care of them. But spend this winter looking at your available space. If you can afford to put in anything that produces food, albeit a tree that's got a fruit or a nut, a small garden, even if the garden is only providing fixings for your meals, then you're learning a skill, and at some point it should pay dividends as you grow and expand that garden. If you've got the space for any livestock, then I would strongly consider adding that to your preps. If you can't get your supplies from a shelf, then you need to look into supplying yourself. Becoming self-reliant, I think, is pretty important for you. I guess the last news article we can talk about is this was coming from CNN. They're saying don't expect, or their exact words were, they don't think that China can invade or do anything with Taiwan until 2025. But I don't know if he's a prime minister or president, or foreign minister, but someone pretty high up on the chain in Taiwan. He's fearful right now of a invasion or a reunification of China and Taiwan by force. That's just another reason to stack to the rafters, because a lot of our stuff comes from China. A lot of the stuff sitting in those cargo ships that, as of right now, a lot of Americans depend on those supplies is coming from China. It's coming from Taiwan. There are hundreds and hundreds of trucks basically rusting away. The entire truck is finished. It's ready to go to a lot for someone to buy it, but it doesn't have the chips because Taiwan is backed up on it. But those are our supply chain issues. I'm not seeing much in my area, but with our just-in-time delivery system, it only takes about 3 days for there to be a major issue in the supply chain. And with less and less truckers delivering the supplies, with the gas prices higher, the truckers that can deliver supplies, you see it at the end, when your chicken breast costs 40 cents more a pound than it did 6 months ago. And if farmers are having to cull off some of their livestock, or basically till over and throw out, their fruits and vegetables, at some point, we're going to get back to that point where, at the end we need 10 of this, and we're just going to have to deal with the farmers only having 8 of it, until they can, get their stuff back in order. But you can put this kind of things in your own hands. I don't think I have anyone from Britain that watches my stuff. But if you're worried about getting pork, like this one farmer says, the pigs get too big for the processing plants to deal with. There's not enough truckers to, bring the product to the store. And the same thing can be done here in the United States. An individual person probably can't afford an entire cow. But if you go to the source, most farmers, personally know a butcher, or they do butchering themselves. They probably don't buy their meat from the store. They, use one of their cows. It's cheaper for them. And so one individual person probably can't afford or store an entire cow. But if you have, 10 family members or 10 households, it's a lot more manageable. Say you're spending, $2,000, $2,500 on, one cow. $2,500 is a lot for one person, but $250 for one person, times that by 10 people, that's a lot more manageable. If that's not manageable enough, find 20 people go straight to the source, and you're going to save the uptick that if it's $2,500, straight from the farmer to the butcher, then from the butcher to the packing plant, it's add on a couple $100, and then from the packing plant to the supermarket, let's tack on a couple more $100. And to get the same amount of product for these 20 people, you're probably spending $500, $600, $700 more. I don't know the exact numbers. And then I guess the last thing is, we're about, I think, halfway through, dove season for my area. Go shoot some dove. I don't know if duck season started or not. I don't live at the coast anymore, so I don't do a lot of that. I know it's bow season for deer. That's anywhere from 50 to 150 pounds of meat there. Regular season starts here pretty soon. It's always in season to hunt a hog, and most people probably won't charge you if, it's a nuisance in your area. And then, a lot of these solutions are if you're based here in Texas. The last thing is you can go fishing. There are plenty of ways to stock up without having to worry about what's going to be on your shelves at a supermarket. The only thing I would say is make sure you follow your local and state laws, and stay safe with anything you're doing in regards of that. I would strongly suggest you do some hunting, but I don't want to be liable if you get yourself hurt. But that being said, what are your solutions to supply chain shortages going into the winter months for Thanksgiving, Christmas, the end of the year? And if you have a friend or family member that would like to hear my beautiful voice, then share the video with them, and I'll catch you in the next one.